Well, happy Monday, everybody. It's Laurie-Ann here, and today we're going to be talking about why hustling is not the answer. And I do have to share this over to my Facebook page, but this is like a problem that I see persistently with new entrepreneurs, just new in the business, and even careerists, how we feel like we have to go, go, go. And I'm going to share some of my personal stories about how I used to actually have 3 jobs at one point. And actually, if I think about it a little bit more carefully, I think it actually might be 4 if we count teaching aerobics and fitness classes as another job. Let me see. I just want to share this right inside Entrepreneurs Making an Impact. And share to groups as Laurie-Ann. And here, and share. So today we're going to be talking about, how hustling is not the answer. So I'm just going to give you guys a couple of seconds just to jump on. And I know with daylight savings time, it's dark outside, everyone. As you're popping on, I'm just kind of like curious to where you're watching from. And the question is do you feel like you're hustling? Do you feel like you're getting a little burnt out from hustling? Because that's usually the problem. And it's really the reason why I don't think that hustling is the answer, because it's exhausting. You'll get burnt out, and then you'll realize that you as your own boss, if you're like, I might as well just go get a regular job, because my own boss, me, the person who's looking at me in the mirror, is tougher on me than anything. So what we're going to be sharing today is I want to share my story. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Laurie-Ann. I am a business mentor and speaking strategist. And I help my clients leverage speaking opportunities to get visible, sell out their high-end programs, and monetize their intellectual property. And the way that I help people is I use my years, somewhere between 15 to 20 years of professional speaking. I was somehow speaking and marketing, as a brand, whether I was working for Siemens, and then I kind of left Siemens and started out on my own. Hello, Lucy. It is nice to see you. Thanks for joining. And tonight we're going to be talking about this hustle thing. So when I was young, in high school, I had this monetary goal, and that was I was saving money for college. So if I wasn't working at my part-time job, then that meant that I was missing out on some income. And if I was missing out on income, that meant that I wasn't, it's not like I had a monetary amount of money in mind. I was just working so that I could keep earning money so that I could, hopefully my goal was to get out of college debt-free. And I was pretty darn close. I think I ended up only having one loan for, somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. So that was super fortunate, but that came with a lot, I worked a lot. So I constantly worked, and then I went into college, and I did have a little bit of a part-time job because I didn't know anything else. That's the thing. I didn't know anything else besides constantly working and essentially hustling. So then I graduated college, and I ended up in healthcare. Most of you know my story. But there was a point where I had at least 3 jobs. If not a 4th. I'm trying to think back to this particular time. If I was a fitness instructor teaching aerobics once or twice a week, I had my full-time job. I took call because coming from healthcare, this was before I worked for Siemens. I took emergency call for another hospital, and so that was 1 weekend a month. And then the other 2 free weekends, I would work at this other hospital and just kind of work and basically did however many patients that they had. I just got paid per patient for this hospital, like on a Saturday. And so I only had like one weekend off a month for a 2-day stretch, but most of the other weekends, like I would have I'd have Sunday off, the weekends that I wasn't on call. So about like 3 Sundays I had off. So we're talking about 3 Sundays plus a Saturday. So I probably had a total of 4 days off a month. And granted, like I loved what I was doing, but that's it. I kept working, constantly working because I didn't know anything else. How many of you guys can relate? I mean, share with me, like, if you ever had a part-time job while you had your full-time job, or if you had a part-time job in high school, like, what did you do? And did you feel like, like you were kind of on this little like hamster wheel of, if I'm not working, I'm not earning money. I gotta keep working. I gotta keep trudging up the mountain, so to speak. Share with me, like, what did you do? Like, I worked, in high school, I worked in a grocery store. And, like later on, when I got out of college, it was, I just kept going with healthcare and working that way. What did you do? I'm super curious. And hey, Missy, it's nice to see you. I've got, let's see, I've got something in store for us. Like we're just talking about like hustle and how, it really does lead to burnout. Missy says, I was working full-time 60 hours a week with a 3-hour-a-day commute. Yes, I do. This I do know about you. Missy used to commute. This is when you had your job down in Boston. And look at that, like 60 hour a week, plus a three hours in the car commuting to and from work. Talk about a hustle. And what she's not sharing is that she was also raising her babies, also on top of those kind of hours. So I want to use an example because you guys all know that I just love, like an example with the gym and fitness. And Missy said, yeah, that was so draining. Exactly. And when you're exhausted and tired, you're not getting anywhere fast. And that's the point that I want to share today. So I want to share with you the study about exercise. And we all know, like they say, the guideline is to exercise, do some sort of cardiovascular training at least 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. And that is for like 20 to 30 minutes. You want to be training your heart and lungs. Well, so they did these studies. Okay, they came up with this number that 3 times a week. 3 times a week, like a minimum of 3 times a week. Anything less than that, then you're kind of you're not training frequently enough, and so you're not actually getting the benefit of those workouts. They don't accumulate if you think of like compound interest. So the study that they did was, okay, that was 3 times, and they got, I cannot remember the percentages off the top of my head from this study, so I'm just going to kind of make some up. So I'm going to say if you work out 3 times a week, cardiovascular just for 30 minutes, say that increases your cardiovascular health by 40%. So they wondered, well, I wonder if we double the workouts, would that double the results? Would we actually get 80%? And the answer was no. If you double your workouts to go from 3 to 6, it doesn't double your results. As a matter of fact, if you got 40% from working out 3 times a week, you only got something like 45-50% extra by working twice as much. So twice the workouts, but minuscule amounts of extra advantage. That's it. So it sort of reminds me like the same thing with hustling. If you are working in your business and you are working, like 60, 70 hours a week, and you are working every single day, you have no time to rest, you have no time to recharge, and you think you're moving ahead. How many of you have ever done this, whether it's like when you were first starting out in your business and you just like, oh my God, like I'm on this treadmill, like I feel like I have to constantly keep working because I'm trying to get somewhere. And you really feel like you're on the treadmill to nowhere. Let me know if you've ever felt that way. I know that when I was first starting out, like I just felt like, all right, I constantly felt like I had to be doing something. But remember, this was like a very deep habit of mine, dating all the way back to like my high school and college days, where I didn't know what it was like to take time off. I didn't like feel like, maybe I just didn't feel worthy of, I'm not there yet, wherever there is. That's the important thing, is that I noticed that most of us entrepreneurs, like we don't have like this goal. It's just, and I see this like with my private clients when they first start working with me, it's just, but I have to keep going. I have to keep doing. And the funny thing is like sometimes I give them a homework assignment, which is you take 2 days off, completely off. That means not checking, with your Facebook. That means not creating content. That means not checking on clients, just like 2 days off. What would you do with 2 days off? And that can be really hard for people. So a while back, I was working with a personal trainer, and she had her own business, and it was this really interesting training for people who were competing in triathlons. So she's working with, like swimmers, bikers, and runners. And I had an injury. So at the end of our call, I just happened to say like, hey, I have a question for you that's going to tap into your physical therapy. And I shared whatever the problem was that I was having at the time. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And her first question was, how often do you work out? And I said 6 days a week. She said, you need to take a week off. And I was like, what? Like deer in the headlight, like, what did you just say to me? And I was like, I can't do that. But I think I was going on a trip to a conference out west, Truth Bomb here. It was Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. And if you've ever been to Date with Destiny, then you know that this is a jam-packed, and I wasn't going to have any time to work out. So I remember saying to her, I'm like, all right, I won't do it this week, but next week when I'm away at this conference, I promise not to work out. And that's what it was. I needed to give my body time to rest. Let me just read a couple of these comments. Lucy says, I still feel like you're on the hamster wheel. Lucy, how come you feel like you're on the hamster wheel? And Jen says, yeah, it's super hard to take a full day off. Jen, tell me why is it so hard to take a day off? Like, what's going on? Because I wonder sometimes, because if it's just like myself and it's just this really deep habit and we don't know how to change, we don't know anything different, but to keep working. Share with me that. I have done so much talking today. Client calls, sales calls. So my mouth is feeling a little dry. And here's a funny fact, especially if you feel like I'm talking too fast, which I don't think I am. 3 cups of coffee is too much for Laurie-Ann. I normally just have 2. Today I had a 3rd because I had a coffee chat with somebody, and so I just thought, what's the harm? Oh my God, was I like buzzing? My poor clients that I had to coach afterwards, just like my energy, I was just like, I know that I was talking really fast. So 3 cups of coffee for Laurie-Ann is way too much. So that was the thing that I learned today. So it's about scheduling time and learning how to grasp that hustling is not going to get us anywhere fast. If anything, it's going to slow us down, just like fitness. If you think working out 3 days a week and I'm going to double it, and so I'm going to get to my desired result so much quicker. taking a day off and giving your body some time to rest and recharge will do wonders. Jen says, I think FOMO. I'm afraid I will miss a sale if I don't check in daily. Yeah, I can understand. So I guess like my challenge for you, Jen, is could you just check your email on your day off at the end of the day? Or in the beginning of the day, because knowing that the next day when you start working back up again, you're going to check your email, in the morning. So any sale that did come in from yesterday, and chances are, like if you took a Sunday off, chances are like people like, yeah, you're taking a day off, no big deal. Or how about an autoresponder that says, thank you very much. We've received your email. We will respond within 1 to 2 business days. So therefore giving you the weekend and that time. So what would happen, if you even put boundaries around when you are working even during the day? I mean, how many of you that are watching this right now, how many of you have designated like a lunch break? Like have an hour off for lunch or a half hour off for lunch, or maybe it's this is the time that I have lunch, or I go for a walk, or I have some quiet time, I have just some recharge time. How many of you guys are doing stuff like that? Because that's really important. In my schedule, I actually do. I have lunch. It says lunch right across the board at 12 o'clock. Now, does it always happen? Sometimes I move it around. And depending on my day, like Mondays is one of my longer work days. And so it may move around, it could be like 11 o'clock. It could be 1 o'clock, depending on what else that I have going on. But my other days, it's pretty, it's at noon. I mean, sometimes I might be watching like a video or something, but like I make sure that I have some of that downtime. How many of you actually have a lunchtime scheduled into your day? So one of the other things, as you guys answer that, because, like there's this delay on Facebook. One of the other things is like, besides having like a lunch break and like, I don't start working until this time and I work till this time. Like, do you have those boundaries like in your schedule? Like these are my working hours, or do you just kind of like, I just go and I go and I go. Like I said earlier, Mondays is my longer day. And not only do I start early in the morning, on Mondays I start at 8 o'clock with a mastermind call, but, like I'm also doing this Facebook Live, so, I'm a good like 8 to 6. I mean, it doesn't mean that there aren't some breaks in there. I went earlier this afternoon to go get a manicure. So there was like 2 hours that I was gone, from driving and getting them done and then driving back here. So like what sort of breaks do you have? So Missy says, I do take a break and go for a hike most days. Did you notice how I almost said long hike there? I'm like adding that in there for you. Jen says, I do try to take weekends off, but I seem to get stuck back into working a few hours. So when's the last time any of us took a week off? And you guys are probably like, a week? When's the last time you took a weekend off? A day off? I have a way harder time not working long hours, like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. sometimes. And that's interesting, Missy. And that I have a harder time not working those hours. Yeah. So what would happen if we realize, like, let me work shorter hours? Let me work within these boundaries. How much more efficient do you think you would become? See, that's the whole point. Instead of, I've got all day, or I've got, in Missy's case, I've got till 10 p.m. to work. So guess what? I can work on a little bit of this, then we work on, then we get a little bored with it, and then we're going to work on a little bit of that. And then when I'm done with that, when getting bored, I might pull out another project. And then before you know it, you've started a lot of different things, and things don't get finished. If you've ever heard of the Parkinson's law, is that tasks take the amount of time that they were given. So I think one of the best examples of this is think back to your college days. When you had all semester to write a particular paper, how long did it take you to write that particular paper? Chances are, if you're like me, you took all semester to write it. But what if you were only given, what if you said to yourself, you know what? I'm allotting myself an hour each week, like Mondays from 10 to 11. For an hour, I'm going to work on this paper. And how much quicker do you think it's going to get done? It gets done a whole lot faster. I'm sure that you can all come up with examples where, yep, that's happened to me. Right now, I don't wait to be motivated to write my content. I sit down at a certain time and I start writing. I have just like I had trained myself to constantly be the workhorse, I have now trained myself to sit down, and this is the time that I write content. And it gets done quicker and quicker. Instead of, well, I'll wait till I'm motivated, so I'll work on this little project over here, and then I work on this little project over there. And things just don't happen that way. But to be able to just really reprogram ourselves to be more productive and not be working all these long hours. I mean, why in the world did we go into business for ourselves if that's what we're going to do? So the same is true. Let me just share a little bit regarding finding speaking events. If you told yourself, hey, this Monday, on Mondays from 9 to 10 or 9 to 10:30, 60 or 30 minutes, that you just said, this is when I do research. I do research on Mondays to find places to speak, organizations, people that are looking at a call for speakers. And on Tuesdays, I start making my phone calls. I start sending out the emails. And I just send out 2 a day. That's it. Instead of trying to jam it all pack in one day. Or you just decide I'm just going to spend till 10 p.m. at night doing all sorts of research. How much more efficient do you think you're going to be? Missy says, yes, the longer I work in one day, the less I really accomplish. And long days aren't usually on huge success tasks. Mostly it's a to-do list. Okay. And she also says she agrees with Jen. Same here. So great. So you're realizing I'm just not that productive, but wouldn't it be nice if we just had some shorter days, had some rest in there, whether it's you've got some rest in your days or you take time off. I like to take Fridays off, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There are times where it's a nice, quiet, cozy morning. It's getting a little cool here in the Northeast. And I'm sitting by the fire. I mean, sometimes I'll sit there on a Sunday morning with my coffee and start brainstorming some ideas. What are some of the problems that are coming up for my clients? What are some of the problems that I'm hearing other people talk about in Facebook communities? What could I be sharing and helping them with? I mean, there are times where I just oh, that would be a great idea, to write content on. And those ideas come to us. It's kind of like you get some of your best ideas when you're in the shower. When you come up with the solution to the problem, is in your dreams or something, or when you're driving somewhere and you don't even have a business on the mind, but you're just oh, it came to me. So think about those moments. The more I rest, the more ideas that are going to come to you because your mind is refreshed, your body is recharged, and you're not concentrating on your business, on your work, because these other ideas are coming to you, and just capitalizing on those ideas. Thank goodness for cell phones and voice messages for while I'm driving, that I can just say, hey Siri, take a note for me. And she writes the note for me. And yeah, I just did that. I just said Siri and the iPad came up. So Jen says, that's the dream. Missy says, I did just take 5 days off and was totally unplugged, and it was awesome. Oh, that's right. You went to the Cape. That was when you went to the Cape, I believe. Yes. So let's I want to challenge all of us to have a day off. Have 2 days off. Come up with some working hours for yourself, because this hustle of constantly working, constantly on the treadmill, you just feel like you're just really you're just jogging through mud. You're running through mud, and it's waist deep. Let's get out of that. I guarantee you will become more productive. You will get more done, and bigger and better ideas will come to you. And when you think about one of the things that I was talking about with one of my clients, sometimes your very first group program, that can be scary. But guess what? If you're not working all the time, you just decide, you know what, I'm going to offer a group program. I guarantee you're going to have the energy for it. You're going to have the mental capacity for it, all because you decided to say, hey, I'm going to stop with this hustle and I'm going to try something new. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up at this particular time is because we are entering into the holiday season. And how many of us we're still running our businesses, plus we've got all these extra to-dos and tasks, shopping, cooking to do on top of all of that. So talk about running yourself ragged. I want you to open up your calendar, and I want you to decide, these are going to be my holiday hours. This is how I'm going to do things. And I'm going to make sure that there's lots of rest and relaxation in there as well. I'm going to start planning ahead. Stop putting out fires, because that's what we sometimes do when we are constantly doing the hustle. Do you guys have any questions? I just feel like I've been rattling off all this information, just saying stop the hustle. And this is something that I had to learn. Especially when I stopped the professional speaking and took this pivot to work in this online space. I mean, I was just I don't know anything but to work hard. Again, that deep rooted habit came out. And it's only, only once I recognized it and I was just right, that's not going to do me any favors. Not going to do me any favors. I need to have some thinking time. I need to have some being time. As the CEO of my business, I need to be able to just think about where's the company going? What are some of the plans that I want to have for 2020? What are some of the places that I want to speak? Because it's all about the long game. I think some of you, speaking of long game, some of my marketing tactics are not about the short game. It's all about the long game. Different people that I'm trying to get to know and associate with that are, big market influencers, that's a long game. That's not a short game. And I want to make sure that my business is around, and, you've got to have time where you just sit, you think about where you're going, you look at where your business is, you review. And if you're one of my clients, you know that I'm telling you, we don't just review in December before New Year's. No, we need to be thinking about, okay, how was the month of October? And I get my clients to walk through some particular questions. You want to think about was I happy? Did I reach my goals? How close did I come to my goals? Why, where did I kind of what kind of ideas did I come up with? What kind of content did I write? What went well, what didn't go well, and just to reevaluate stuff. So I really just want to encourage everybody just to stop the hustle, take a step back, take a breath, and breathe. And so during this end of the year, this last 2 months, schedule in just some relaxation time. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy the rest of this decade, by the way, because come January 1st, it is a new decade. So this has all been just about the hustle and how it doesn't serve us. And from you guys totally agree with me that you just don't accomplish much when you're working so much, when you're working such long hours, when you feel like you are chained to your email, chained to your laptop, and you just don't, we're just going to feel better. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, like putting the oxygen mask on in the plane, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our clients. So if you won't do it for yourself, I hope that you'll do it for your clients and your customers and your audience. And with that, I'm going to say, she says, okay, I'm going to go walk to the beach. I'm a little jealous that Jen can actually do this. She lives on the West Coast, so she's, like right now it's a little dark out here, Jen. It's 5:30 here, and it's nice and dark, and it's 2:30 where you are. So I'm a little jealous that she gets to go. She can go walk to the beach. So love to know, like, what are you going to do for relaxation time? How many hours are you planning on? Like, here are the hours. Here's the container that I'm actually going to work. And this is it. At this particular time, I close down the project. I close down the computer. I walk out of my office, and I'm just going to the office is closed. So let's have more of that attitude. The office is closed. You guys, thank you for joining. It's always good to hear from you. It's always good to see you guys. And I will catch you next week. Next week, we're going to have a guest speaker, a special guest on the show. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.